After I refused to let my husband's mother babysit overnight because she had previously forgotten to feed our son, she called child services on me. When they arrived, my husband looked me dead in the eye and said, "Maybe it's time someone stepped in." I lost temporary custody. But weeks later, a neighbor gave me security footage that showed. I don't even know how to start this. I've been holding it in for months, and I think it's finally time to talk. 32 female, used to think I had a pretty normal life. Married for 5 years, one child, a little house in a quiet neighborhood. I wasn't happy, exactly, but I thought we were managing. I thought Rob, 34M, my husband, loved me. I thought we were raising our son, Caleb, 3M, as a team. I was wrong. It started small, like these things usually do. His mom, Diane, was always involved, too involved. She's the kind of woman who thinks every mother is doing it wrong except her. When I was pregnant, she made comments about how back in her day, they didn't coddle kids. She told me not to gain too much weight because it would ruin my figure. I tried to ignore her for Rob's sake. After Caleb was born, it got worse. She'd show up uninvited, criticize the way I changed his diaper, tell me I was spoiling him by rocking him to sleep. Once, I caught her putting cereal in his bottle when he was 2 months old. I told her not to. She did it again the next day. Still, I kept the peace. I thought she was just old-fashioned. Rob always defended her. She means well. She's just trying to help. Don't be so sensitive. I let it slide until Caleb was about 2.5. One weekend, Diane offered to babysit overnight so Rob and I could go out for our anniversary. I was hesitant. Caleb's a picky eater, and he doesn't handle change well. But I hadn't had a night away from him since he was born. Rob pushed for it, said we needed time together. So I said yes. Biggest mistake I've ever made. We got home around 10 the next morning. Caleb was still in his pajamas. His diaper was soaked through his pants. There was crusted food on his face, except when I asked what he ate, he said, "Nothing." Grandma said wait. His lips were dry. His stomach was growling. I looked in the sink, no dishes. The bottle warmer still unplugged. His food untouched. I asked Diane what happened. She rolled her eyes and said, "He didn't want to eat. He was being difficult. He'll eat when he's hungry." I was stunned. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just took Caleb and told her she wouldn't be babysitting again. Ever. That was the first time Rob really turned on me. He said I was overreacting. That one night didn't mean she was a bad grandmother. I asked him if he was okay with our toddler going 14 hours without food or a diaper change. He didn't answer. Things were tense after that. I stopped letting Diane come over. Rob got cold. I thought he'd come around eventually, but he didn't. He started staying out later. When he was home, he barely talked to me. Diane, on the other hand, made it her mission to let me know I'd overstepped. She sent me passive-aggressive texts, left comments on my Facebook posts, tried to talk to Caleb behind my back at daycare pickup. Then I found out she still had a key to her house. Rob had given it to her without telling me. I came home one day, and she was in my kitchen, cleaning out her fridge. She said she was helping. I told her to leave. She said, "This is still my son's house." I changed the locks the next day. That was the final straw for Rob. He told me I was turning his family against him, that I was creating drama where there was none. I asked him whose side he was on. He didn't answer that either. A few weeks later, CPS showed up at my door. It was a Thursday morning. Caleb and I were having breakfast. 2 women knocked. They said they were from Child Protective Services and they'd received an anonymous report of neglect. They were calm but firm. Said they had to look around. I let them in. I had nothing to hide. The house was clean. Caleb was healthy, fed in clean clothes. But they said the report claimed my son was always dirty, always hungry, and developmentally behind because I wasn't meeting his needs. I was shaking. I couldn't believe this was happening. They asked questions, took pictures, took notes, talked to Caleb. I stayed calm. I tried to answer everything honestly. Then they said something that made my blood go cold. They said it wasn't safe for Caleb to stay with me until they completed the investigation, that they'd be placing him in temporary care with his father. I looked at Rob. He had come home from work early. He didn't look shocked. He didn't look confused. He looked prepared. He looked at me and said, "Maybe it's time someone stepped in."
Just like that.
Like I was a problem to be handled. I broke. I couldn't speak. I just watched him take Caleb and walk out. The next 3 weeks were a blur. I had supervised visits twice a week. Caleb was confused. He clung to me. Didn't want to go back with Rob. I followed every rule CPS gave me. I let them inspect the house again.
I went to a parenting class.
I had to get a psychological evaluation. Everything came back fine. But I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't random, that someone set me up. Then, this is the part that still gives me chills. My neighbor Maria knocked on my door. She lives across the street. She has one of those motion-activated security cameras. She said she hadn't wanted to get involved, but something had been bothering her. She gave me a USB drive. The night before CPS came, at 2:17 a.m., her camera caught someone walking up our driveway and unlocking the door. It was Diane. She had a hoodie on, but the streetlight hit her face. No doubt it was her. She stayed inside for about 25 minutes, then came out with a large, white trash bag, got in her car, and left. That was it. That was the missing piece. She had planted evidence. She came into my house in the middle of the night and trashed it. Probably dumped out food. Maybe poured milk into bottles to make it look like I wasn't cleaning. Took dirty diapers from the trash and spread them around. She set me up. I took the footage to my lawyer. We brought it to CPS. Suddenly, things changed.
Fast.
One of the caseworkers admitted they had doubts from the beginning. Said something about how staged it felt when they arrived. With the footage, we had proof of tampering. The judge reopened the case. I got Caleb back 2 weeks later. That's not the end, not by a long shot. There's more. A lot more. But I'll stop here for now. I thought getting Caleb back would be the turning point. That once the truth came out, things would settle. But I was wrong again. The day after Caleb came home, Rob showed up at the house. He didn't knock. Just walked in like he still lived there. He stood in the living room and said, "You think you've won something?" I didn't say anything. Caleb was napping upstairs. I didn't want him to wake up to yelling. Rob looked around like he didn't recognize the place anymore. Finally, he said, "You don't get to shut me out. He's my son, too." I told him, calmly, that he could see Caleb during scheduled visitation. Through the court. That's what the judge ordered. He laughed. A dry, bitter laugh. "You really think I'm going to follow your little rules now?"
I was holding my phone the whole time.
I pressed record, just in case. Then he said something I still can't get out of my head. "You shouldn't act so confident. You don't know what else she has." I asked him what he meant. He shook his head and walked out. That night, I barely slept. The next morning, I checked the camera I had installed on our front door. It showed Rob standing across the street at 3 a.m., just staring at the house. He didn't come up to the door. He didn't do anything. Just stood there for almost 10 minutes. I sent the video to my lawyer. She filed for a protective order. We're still waiting on the court date. Meanwhile, Diane disappeared. She stopped answering Rob's calls. Her phone went straight to voicemail. Her house was dark every time he drove by. She just vanished. That's when Rob started to spiral. He called me 17 times in one day. Left voicemails accusing me of destroying his family. Said I had no idea what I'd started. One message was just heavy breathing and crying. I blocked his number after that. Then, a week later, I got a call from Caleb's daycare. They said someone had come to pick him up, someone who wasn't on the approved list. A woman, mid-50s, brown hair, said she was his real guardian. They wouldn't let her take him, thank God. But when they asked for ID, she ran off. They filed a report. I filed another one. The daycare upgraded security. I pulled Caleb out for a few days just to be safe. The police say they can't prove it was Diane, but who else would it be? After that, I started noticing things. My mail opened. Trash bins knocked over. My car door slightly cracked in the morning, even though I always lock it. A stuffed dinosaur of Caleb's, one I know I packed away, sitting on the front porch like someone was trying to send a message. I started keeping a bat by my bed. Then, last weekend, Rob's sister, Amy, showed up at my door. We've never been close. She always kept her distance from family drama. But she looked shaken. She asked if we could talk, and I let her in. She told me Diane had always been like this, controlling, cruel, manipulative. But what she said next made my stomach drop. Rob knew what she was going to do. He didn't stop her. I asked her what she meant. She said 2 nights before CPS came, she overheard Rob and Diane talking in Diane's kitchen. Diane said something about how it's the only way to get Caleb away from her. Rob didn't argue. He just said, "Make sure it doesn't come back to me." Amy told me she didn't say anything earlier because she was scared. Scared of what Diane might do. Scared of how Rob might react. She gave me a voicemail Diane left her that night. In it, Diane says, "This will be over soon. That girl was never meant to be a mother." I took it straight to my lawyer. We're building a case now, not just for full custody, but for criminal charges. But the more we dig, the more twisted this gets. There's something else, something I haven't told anyone yet. Not even my lawyer. 3 days ago, I found a note in Caleb's backpack. Folded in half. No name. Just 5 words, written in all caps. "You took what's mine." I still don't know who put it there, or what they mean. But I can feel it. This isn't over. Something bigger is coming. A few days after I found that note in Caleb's backpack, something happened that made everything feel like it was starting again. We were at the park, just me and Caleb. It was late afternoon, not too crowded. I was sitting on the bench, watching him go down the slide, when a man I didn't recognize came up to me. He looked maybe mid-40s. Clean-shaven. Dressed like someone who works in an office. He smiled like we knew each other. I didn't smile back. "You're Caleb's mom, right?" he asked. I hesitated. Why? He said he was a friend of the family. That he used to work with Rob. Then he said, "A lot of people are worried about you." I stood up and told him to leave. He didn't. Instead, he leaned in a little and said, "You should stop digging. It's not going to help anyone. Let it go before things get messy, eh?" Then he turned around and walked off like nothing happened. I called the police, filed a report. They asked if he touched me or threatened violence. When I said no, they told me to keep my eyes open, but there wasn't much they could do. I felt sick the rest of the day. Caleb could tell something was wrong. He kept asking if we were going back to the other house, meaning Rob's. I told him no, not ever again. But he's 3. He doesn't understand all of this. That night, I checked the footage from the baby monitor in Caleb's room. It records sound, even when it's not streaming video. I listen to it every few nights, just in case. At 3:42 a.m., I heard a soft scratching sound, like something brushing against the window. Then a woman's voice.
Low. Croaky.
Just one sentence. "You think he's safe with you?" That's all. Then nothing. I called the police again. They came, checked everything, found no sign of a break-in. Said it could have been the wind. A cat. Anything. It wasn't. The next day, I had a new security system installed. I added motion sensors to every door and window. My front yard now looks like a crime scene with all the cameras and floodlights. I also called Amy again. She hesitated, but finally told me something else. Before Diane disappeared, she'd been fighting with someone on the phone. Not Rob, someone else. Amy thinks Diane was trying to cover something up. Something more serious than a false CPS report. And she said something I can't shake. She said she did it before and she could do it again. I asked, "Did what before?" Amy didn't know, or wouldn't say. Later that week, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. No note inside. Just a printed photo of me and Caleb at the park. From behind. Dated 3 days ago. Same day the strange man approached me. The police are involved now, but they keep saying there's no direct threat. I know better. Someone is watching us. Someone is trying to scare me. But here's the thing no one else knows yet. Not even my lawyer. I recently found an old photo album in Rob's childhood stuff. It had photos of Diane, Rob, and a little girl. At first I thought it was Amy as a kid, but the dates didn't add up. This girl, she looked about 7.
Blonde.
Big eyes. The name Emily written in blue ink under several pictures. I asked Amy about her. She went quiet. Then she said, I wasn't supposed to know about her. Turns out, Rob had a half-sister. From Diane's first marriage. A child she gave up. Or claimed she lost. The details are murky. All Amy knows is Diane never spoke of her again. Erased her from every family photo after a certain year. And here's the part one can't stop thinking about. One of the pictures in the album? The little girl is holding a stuffed dinosaur. The same exact kind that showed up on my porch. I don't know what this means yet. But I feel like I'm standing at the edge of something deeper than I thought. This wasn't just about Diane hating me. Or Rob wanting control. There's something else. Something they buried. And it's starting to surface. I didn't want to go looking into Diane's past. I really didn't. But after the photo album, the dinosaur, the note, something in me changed. I wasn't just scared anymore. I was angry. I wanted the truth.
Not just for me.
For Caleb. He deserves to grow up safe. And he deserves to know the people who tried to destroy his life before he was even old enough to speak for himself. I started digging. Quietly.
Carefully.
I contacted a woman who specializes in private background searches. She used to be a social worker and now helps people find lost family. I gave her what I had, the name Emily, the dates on the photos, Diane's maiden name. It took 3 weeks. Then she called me and said, "You need to sit down." Emily was real. Diane's daughter from her first marriage. The story Diane told everyone was that Emily died in a car accident when she was 8. That was a lie. Emily had been taken away by the state. Removed from the home after several reports of abuse and neglect. Multiple broken bones. Malnutrition. Emotional trauma. The kicker? Diane's rights had been fully terminated. She was banned from having contact with Emily again. The case was sealed. Rob would have only been about 9 when it happened. Old enough to remember, but I guess they made sure he didn't. I asked the woman what happened to Emily after that. She said she was adopted. New name. New life. Then she gave me the name. It was Maria. My neighbor. The same woman who gave me the security footage that saved me from losing Caleb. I couldn't breathe. I went to Maria's house that night. She let me in like she knew this moment was coming. She didn't deny it. She said she recognized Diane the first time she saw her. That's why she installed the security camera. That's why she handed me the footage without hesitation. She'd been waiting. She told me something else, too. Diane had tried to find her. Years ago. Through someone shady. When that didn't work, she targeted Amy. Then Rob. She made them dependent. Controlled. She broke them down slowly. She was trying to get back what she lost, Maria said. And when she saw you with Caleb, she snapped. Everything clicked. Diane didn't just want control over Caleb. She wanted to replace what she lost. Recreate the family she destroyed. And Rob? He let her. Because that's all he ever knew. He never stood up for me, not because he couldn't, but because he didn't want to. He wanted his mother's approval more than he wanted his wife or his son. After that, I stopped playing defense. I got full custody. The judge reviewed all the evidence, the CPS setup, the stalking, the recorded threats, the connection to Diane's past abuse. Rob lost everything. Visits revoked. His name stripped from daycare, school, medical forms. Diane's investigation was reopened at the state level. But I wasn't finished. I filed civil charges against Diane and Rob. Emotional distress. Custodial interference. False allegations. Harassment. They both lawyered up fast. Rob cried in court. Diane refused to speak. But the paper trail was there. The footage. The voicemail. The history. I took them for everything they had.
Savings. Retirement. House.
The house that used to be mine. I sold it. I moved Caleb and me to another city. New home. New names. Maria came with us. She's Caleb's godmother now. She said it helps heal something in her, too. I still carry guilt. For ever trusting Rob. For ever letting Diane near my son. For not listening to my gut the first time she crossed a line. But I also carry strength. Because I fought.
Hard.
When it counted. And now, Diane lives alone in a subsidized apartment in the same town where the state took Emily from her 30 years ago. People know who she is now. Rob lives in his car some nights. I know because he tried to ask me for money. I sent him a screenshot of my lawyer's last restraining order. Caleb is safe. He laughs again. He sleeps through the night. I don't tell him everything. Not yet. But I will. One day. And when I do, I'll look him in the eye and say, "They tried to take you from me, but they lost." Because I remembered what they wanted me to forget. I am your mother.
Not them.
Let them rot in the mess they made. We're free now.